The first thing I remember is the weight in my pocket. Not the alarms. Not the dust hanging in the air of the outpost. Not even the ache behind my eyes that never really went away anymore. Just the dog tag. Cold. Dented. Too heavy for something that small. My fingers kept finding it without permission, pressing it between my knuckles like I could grind reality back into shape if I held it tight enough. Like if I let go, something else would slip with it. Something worse. Sergeant Ava Carter. I didn't look up right away. I didn't want to see another officer pretending this place wasn't falling apart. They've assigned you a companion. That word again. I almost laughed. Instead, I pulled my hand out of my pocket slowly, like it had been caught doing something wrong, and finally turned. That's when I saw him. Kael Dorran stood just inside the doorway, perfectly still, like he'd been placed there instead of walking in. Taller than I expected. Lean. Skin like dull metal under the harsh lighting. His eyes were too dark, too steady. And his left hand wasn't there. Just a clean, healed stump where the wrist should have been. Not fresh. Not recent. Old enough to stop being shocking. Old enough to be permanent. He didn't hide it. Didn't compensate for it. Didn't even shift his balance. Like it didn't define him. Like it didn't matter. They said you requested extraction, he said, his voice low, measured. Not human, but close enough to be unsettling. I met his gaze, finally letting the irritation surface. I did, and instead, you received me. I let out a short breath through my nose. Yeah, lucky me. His eyes didn't flicker, didn't soften, didn't react at all. I am not here for your comfort, he said. I am here to observe. That earned a dry laugh. Good, I muttered, slipping my hand back into my pocket, fingers closing around the dog tag again. Because I'm not here to be studied. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he tilted his head slightly, studying me anyway. I believe, he said quietly, we are both here for the wrong reasons. I didn't ask what he meant. I already had enough things I didn't want answers to. Kael didn't speak much during the first few hours. He didn't need to. That was the first thing that got under my skin. Most people fill silence because they're afraid of it. They talk, they joke, they complain. Anything to keep from hearing what's really going on in their own heads. Kael didn't do any of that. He just watched. Not in a suspicious way. Not like a guard tracking a threat. Like a scientist. Or worse, like someone who already knew what he was looking for. I tried to ignore him. I ran my usual routine through the outpost. Equipment checks, perimeter logs, comm updates. Everything by the book. Everything controlled. Predictable. Safe. And every time I turned around, he was there. Not close enough to interfere. Not far enough to forget. A shadow that didn't quite belong to me. By hour 2, it was starting to feel intentional. By hour 3, it was unbearable. Do you ever blink? I finally snapped, spinning on him in the corridor outside medbay. He stopped exactly 2 steps behind me. Same distance he'd kept all morning. Yes, he said calmly. Could have fooled me. I blink at a normal rate for my species. That's comforting, I muttered. He tilted his head slightly, like he was filing that response away. Then his gaze shifted, past me, to the medbay. The doors were open. Inside, 2 miners were being treated. One of them had lost most of his lower leg in a tunnel collapse. Blood still soaked through the bandages despite the med tech's efforts. I didn't look. I kept my eyes on Kael, but I knew what was there. I always knew. You are avoiding them, he said. It wasn't a question. Yeah. I crossed my arms. And you have been stationed here for 6 days. There have been 14 injuries in that time. You have not entered the medical wing once. I'm not a medic. No, he agreed. But you are human. That hit harder than it should have. I frowned. What's that supposed to mean? In your species, proximity to the wounded is not determined by necessity alone. I let out a dry laugh. You've been here, what, half a day? And you've got humans all figured out already? I do not need long to observe patterns. Try this one, I shot back. People who get too close to broken things usually end up breaking too. He studied me for a long moment. Not judging, not challenging, just observing. Then his gaze dropped. To my hand. I hadn't even realized I'd done it again. My fingers had slipped into my pocket, pressing the edge of the dog tag into my palm like it was the only solid thing left in the world. Slowly, deliberately, Kael looked back up at me. You do it every 7 to 10 minutes, he said. My jaw tightened. Do what? That. His eyes flicked down again. I pulled my hand out immediately, like I'd been caught doing something illegal. It's nothing. No, he said quietly. It is not nothing. I took a step toward him. Look, I said, voice low, controlled. You don't know me. You don't know anything about me. So whatever conclusions you think you're making, you carry someone with you. The words cut straight through everything I was about to say. I froze. For a second, I genuinely didn't know how to respond. Kael didn't move, didn't press, didn't soften. He just stood there, waiting, like the silence itself would do the work for him. That's a reach, I said finally, forcing a scoff. You aliens always this dramatic? Not dramatic, he replied. Observant. I shook my head, stepping past him. Yeah? Then observe this. I don't need a therapist. And I definitely don't need one who's missing a hand. It was a low blow. I knew it the second it left my mouth. If it bothered him, he didn't show it. He didn't even look down at the stump. I lost it in combat, he said simply. Congratulations. I do not regret it. I stopped walking. Something in the way he said that, flat, certain, pulled me back. Against my better judgment, I turned. Yeah, I said. Why not? His gaze locked onto mine again. Because I chose what to save. The words hung there between us. Heavy, uncomfortable. I looked away first. Good for you. I muttered, starting down the corridor again. His footsteps followed a second later. Same rhythm, same distance. Of course they did. We walked in silence for a while. Too long, too loud. You said humans cling to ghosts, I said finally, without turning around. Yes. You ever think maybe that's because we don't have a choice? There was a pause behind me. Choice is always present, he said. Not when they're gone. Especially then. I stopped again. I didn't turn this time. Careful, I said quietly. You're getting close to saying something meaningful. I already did. I let out a short, humorless laugh. Then let me make it simple for you, I said, finally turning back to face him. People die. You move on. That's how this works. He studied me. Not my face. Not my stance. My eyes. Like he was trying to see past everything I was putting in front of him. Then why do you keep carrying him? He asked. No hesitation. No build-up. Just the question. Clean. Direct. Unavoidable. For a second, everything in me locked up. My throat. My chest. My thoughts. Because the worst part wasn't that he asked. It was that he was right. My hand moved before I could stop it. Back into my pocket. Fingers closing tight around the cold metal edge. I could feel the engraved letters against my skin. Ryan Blake. I swallowed hard, forcing my expression back into something solid. Something safe. You're overstepping, I said, my voice quieter now. Am I? Yes. Then correct me. I stepped closer to him. Close enough now that I could see the fine details in his skin. The faint lines, the subtle texture that wasn't quite human. You don't get to ask me that, I said. Why? Because if I answered, it would be real. Because if I said it out loud, it wouldn't just be something I carried. It would be something I couldn't put down. Because it's none of your business. Kael held my gaze. Unflinching. Steady. Then, finally, he nodded once. Understood. Relief should have followed. It didn't. Instead, he added quietly. That is also an answer. And somehow, that was worse. If you've watched this far, then this story is really interesting to you. Please confirm it by clicking like under this video. It doesn't cost you anything, but it will help me understand what story to publish for you next. Let's move on. The collapse happened 12 hours later. No warning. No gradual shift. Just a deep, violent tremor that rolled through the outpost, like something alive had slammed its shoulder into the mountain. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied. For half a second, everything went quiet. Then the alarm started screaming. Primary shaft collapse. The comms officer shouted from across the operations room. Sections B through D just dropped. Multiple workers unaccounted for. I was already moving before the sentence finished. Rescue teams, gear up. I barked, grabbing my kit from the rack. We're going down. Around me, soldiers snapped into motion. Helmets, respirators, harnesses. Controlled chaos. The kind you only get when everyone knows exactly how bad things can get. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Kael. Still, watching. Of course he was. I turned to him sharply. You're staying here. He didn't react right away. I am assigned to you, he said. Yeah? Then follow orders. You're not built for this. A flicker of something passed through his eyes. Not anger. Not offense. Assessment. You are making an incorrect assumption. I'm making a practical one, I shot back. Tunnels are unstable, space is tight, and you've got one hand. That's not a judgment, it's physics. For a moment, I thought he might argue. He didn't. Instead, he inclined his head slightly. As you wish, Sergeant. That should have been the end of it. It wasn't. By the time we reached the primary shaft, the situation had already worsened. The entrance was partially caved in, jagged rock and twisted metal supports forming a narrow, unstable opening. Dust choked the air, thick enough to taste. Inside, darkness. And somewhere beneath it, people were still alive. Or they weren't. Thermals? I asked. Spotty, one of my team replied, scanning the readings. We've got heat signatures about 30 meters down, but the structure's shifting too much to get a clear count. Then we move fast, I said. No unnecessary risks, but we don't waste time either. Understood? A chorus of nods. We moved in. The tunnel swallowed us almost immediately. The deeper we went, the tighter it got. Supports had buckled, turning straight passages into uneven choke points. We had to crawl in places, squeeze through gaps that scraped armor and gear. Every sound felt too loud. Every shift of stone overhead felt like a warning. We found the first survivor 10 meters in. Alive, barely, pinned under a collapsed beam, leg crushed, breathing shallow and erratic. Easy, I said, dropping to one knee beside him. We've got you. My team moved efficiently, cutting, lifting, stabilizing. Controlled. Precise. I focused on the work. Not the blood. Not the way his hands shook. Not the way his eyes locked onto mine like I was the only thing keeping him from slipping under. We got him free. Sent him back up the line. And kept going. Deeper. Tighter. More unstable. By the time we hit the second chamber, the air had thinned. Dust thick enough to clog filters if we weren't careful. That's when I heard it. A voice. Weak. Somewhere ahead. Over here. I called, pushing forward. The passage narrowed to a crawl space, too small for full gear. Helmets off, I ordered. Strip anything bulky. We go light. One by one, we shed equipment, squeezing through the opening. And that's when I saw him. Kael, already inside, dragging someone. For a second, my brain refused to process it. Then it hit me all at once. You, what the hell are you doing here? I snapped, crawling toward him. He didn't stop, didn't even look up. Correcting your assumption, he said. The man he was pulling was huge, easily twice Kael's mass. Unconscious, dead weight, and Kael was moving him. One hand gripping the man's harness. The stump of his other arm braced against the rock, using friction and leverage instead of strength. Efficient, calculated, relentless. How did you even get in here? I demanded. There was an alternate access point, he replied. Smaller than this one. Of course there was. Of course he found it. The tunnel above us groaned. A low, shifting sound that made every instinct in my body go rigid. Move, I barked. Now, the ceiling cracked. Dust rained down. A chunk of rock slammed into the ground inches from my arm. Go, I shouted to the team behind me. Get them out. I turned back to Kael just as the passage behind him started to collapse. For a split second, our eyes met. No hesitation. No panic. Just calculation. Take him, he said. I reached for the unconscious miner, grabbing the harness. Together, I snapped. He didn't argue. We moved. Fast. Dragging. Pulling. Forcing our way back through the narrow passage as the tunnel screamed around us. Rock shifted. Support snapped. The entire structure felt like it was folding in on itself. I shoved the miner ahead, pushing him toward the others. Get him out, I yelled. Hands grabbed him, pulled him free, and then it was just me and Kael. The tunnel behind us collapsed completely, sealing off the path we'd come through. Silence. Heavy. Final. I turned to him, breathing hard. You disobeyed a direct order. Yes. No apology. No explanation. Just the truth. I stared at him. At the missing hand. At the way he stood there like none of this was unusual. Like risking his life in a collapsing tunnel wasn't something worth mentioning. You could have died, I said. So could you. That's different. He tilted his head slightly. How? I opened my mouth. Closed it again. Because I didn't have an answer that didn't sound like a lie. Behind us, the rescued miner coughed weakly. Alive. Because of him. I exhaled slowly, forcing my pulse to steady. Next time, I said, turning toward the exit. You follow my orders. There was a brief pause. Then, next time, Kael replied calmly. You make better ones. I didn't respond. Because the worst part was, he wasn't wrong. We barely made it back to the surface before everything went to hell. The sky over the outpost was wrong. Too bright. Too sharp, like lightning frozen in place. Then the first blast hit. The ground shook hard enough to throw one of the med crews off their feet. A second later, the perimeter alarms switched tone, high-pitched, urgent, unmistakable. Not structural, not environmental. Hostile. Raiders, someone shouted over comms. Multiple signatures, North Ridge. Of course, because saving people underground wasn't enough. We had to earn it on the way out too. Move, I snapped, grabbing a rifle from the nearest rack and shoving it into position. Get the wounded inside. Defensive positions now. Everything fractured into motion. Medics dragging stretchers. Soldiers taking cover behind reinforced plating. Automated turrets spinning up with a mechanical whine. And me, trying not to think about the fact that my hands were shaking. I pushed it down, locked it away, just like always. A streak of plasma cut across the yard, slamming into the outer wall and sending a spray of molten debris in every direction. Contact, someone yelled. I leaned out just enough to fire. Controlled bursts toward the ridge. Shapes moved there, fast and low, using the terrain like they owned it. They probably did. Keep them back, I shouted. We hold until evac. The next shot came out of nowhere. No warning, no time to react. Just a flash. An impact. It hit my side like a hammer made of fire. For a second, I didn't even understand what had happened. Then my legs gave out. The world tilted hard to the left, and suddenly I was on the ground, staring up at a sky that was far too bright. Sound dropped out. Everything muffled. Distant. Wrong. I tried to move. Couldn't. My hand slipped against something wet. Warm. I didn't need to look to know. Stay with me. The voice cut through the noise like a blade. Kael. Of course it was him. He was suddenly there, pulling me back behind cover with a strength that didn't make sense for his frame. I felt the drag of my body across the ground. Felt the jolt of every movement straight through the wound. Still no pain. Not yet. That would come later. Pressure, he said, already working. His hand pressed against my side. Firm, precise. Too precise. I tried to speak, but it came out wrong. Thin. Unstable. Do not talk, he said. I laughed. Or tried to. Yeah, good plan. The edges of my vision were starting to darken. That wasn't good. I knew exactly what that meant. Shock. Blood loss. Time running out. Kael's hand moved to my face. Not rough. Not clinical. Deliberate. He turned my head just enough so I was looking directly at him. Stay present, he said. I blinked slowly, trying to focus. His eyes were steady. Too steady. You need to remain conscious. Working on it, I muttered. No, he said quietly. You are avoiding it. That cut through the haze just enough to irritate me. Not now. Yes, now. His grip tightened slightly. Not painful, but impossible to ignore. Your name. I frowned. What? Your name. You know my name. I know your designation, he said. I am asking for you. That didn't make sense. Or maybe it did, and I just didn't want it to. Ava, I said finally, the word dragging out of me like it had weight. Ava Carter. His secondary eyelid flickered once. Acknowledgement. Good, he said. Stay with me, Ava. The way he said it. Not Sergeant. Not Carter. Ava. Like it mattered. Like I mattered. I swallowed hard, trying to stay anchored to that. My hand moved again, almost on instinct. Into my pocket. The dog tag. Cold metal against my fingers. Still there. Still real. Kael noticed. Of course he did. What is it, he asked. I hesitated. For half a second, I almost lied. Almost said nothing. But something in the way he was looking at me, steady, unrelenting, made that impossible. I pulled it out. The chain caught for a second on my glove before slipping free. The tag hung between my fingers, scratched, dented, worn down by time and everything that came with it. Ryan Blake, I said. My voice sounded different. Quieter. More real than anything I'd said in weeks. My partner. Kael didn't interrupt. Didn't ask questions. Just listened. I stopped, breath hitching slightly. 6 months ago. Helio sector. We were supposed to pull back. The memory hit harder than the wound. Sharp. Unforgiving. He stayed, I said. Covered the retreat. Said he'd be right behind me. My grip tightened around the tag. He wasn't. Silence. Not empty. Not uncomfortable. Just there. Kael's hand remained steady against my side, keeping pressure, keeping me here. You carry him, he said. It wasn't a question. I let out a weak breath. Yeah. He influences your decisions. I almost laughed again. Guess so. He studied me for a long moment. Then, he is still deciding how you live. The words landed somewhere deep. Too deep. I frowned slightly, trying to process them through the fog. What's that supposed to? Pain hit. Hard. All at once. Like my body had finally caught up with reality. I gasped, vision snapping sharp and bright before blurring again at the edges. Good, Kael said calmly. I glared at him. Good. You are returning. I shook my head weakly. You're insane. Possibly. There was a beat. Then. But you were still here. The sounds of battle started bleeding back into focus. Gunfire. Shouting. The distant whine of engines. I wasn't dead. Not yet. Kael shifted slightly, adjusting his grip. You will not die here, he said. It wasn't reassurance. It wasn't hope. It was a statement. Simple. Certain. I didn't know if he believed it. I didn't know if I did. But for the first time since I hit the ground, I held on to something that wasn't just the dog tag. And that was enough to keep breathing. I was back on my feet 3 weeks later. Not fully healed. Not even close. But functional. And in our line of work, that was enough. The outpost near Tucson didn't survive the raid. What was left of US got reassigned to Meridian Relay Station, a cold, metal structure orbiting nothing important enough to name, but just valuable enough to be a target. It was quieter there. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't relax you. It tightens something in your chest because you know it won't last. My side still burned when I moved too fast. The medic said I was lucky the plasma shot missed anything vital. Lucky. I kept hearing that word like it meant something. Kael didn't say it once. He didn't comment on my recovery at all. He just stayed. Still at that same distance. Still watching. Still there. Except now it was different. Because now I noticed him noticing me. And I didn't know what to do with that. You're compensating, he said one morning as we walked the outer corridor. I'm walking, I replied. You are favoring your right side. Yeah, that tends to happen when you get shot. That is not what I meant. I stopped, exhaling slowly. What do you mean, then? He looked at me, direct, steady. You are moving as if you expect the pain to return. It will. Yes, he said, but you are reacting to it before it exists. I stared at him for a second, then shook my head. You really don't stop, do you? No. Great. I kept walking. He followed. Of course he did. The station had settled into routine quickly. Patrols, maintenance, quiet tension humming beneath everything. Too many survivors. Too many losses. Too many things no one wanted to talk about. That made it worse. Because silence leaves space. And space gets filled. Usually with things you don't want. Like memories. Like names. Like the weight in your pocket. I touched the dog tag again without thinking. Kael saw. He always did. You have not put it away, he said. I didn't slow down. Didn't know I was supposed to. You carry it constantly. Yeah. Why? I stopped walking. Turned to face him. Why do you keep asking that? Because you keep answering without speaking. I let out a short breath. You ever consider that maybe some things don't need to be analyzed? Yes, he said. Those are usually the things that matter most. That hit harder than I expected. I looked away. Look, I muttered. It's just something I hold on to. That's it. That is not just anything. It is to me. No, he said quietly. It is not. For a second, I felt that pressure again. That feeling like he was peeling something back I wasn't ready to look at. I shut it down. Drop it, Kael. He didn't argue. Didn't push. Just nodded once. Understood. And just like that, he let it go. Which somehow made it worse. Because now the silence wasn't pressure. It was space. And I filled it myself. I stayed because of him, I said suddenly. The words slipped out before I could stop them. Kael didn't react. Didn't interrupt. I exhaled slowly. Back on Helios, I continued. When everything went bad, I was supposed to pull back too. My hand tightened around the dog tag. But he stayed. Covered us. Made sure we got out. I swallowed. So when it happened again here, when the station got hit, I shook my head slightly. It didn't even feel like a decision. You were repeating a pattern, Kael said. Yeah. I let out a hollow laugh. Guess I'm predictable. No, he said. I looked at him. You are consistent. That's just a nicer way of saying the same thing. No, he said again. It is not. There was something in his voice this time. Not judgment. Not analysis. Something else. Something steadier. You believe that sacrifice is required, he continued. That survival must be earned by loss. I frowned. That's not. You chose to stay behind, he said. even when it was not necessary. It was necessary. For the mission, for them, and for you. That stopped me. I opened my mouth, closed it again, because I didn't have an answer I trusted. Kael stepped closer, not invading, not forcing, just closer than usual. "This is not protection," he said. My chest tightened slightly. "I know that line," I muttered. "You already used it. Then you understand it." "Yeah," I said. "You think I'm wrong." "I think," he said carefully, "that you are choosing death when you still have the option to live." "That's easy for you to say. Is it?" I gestured toward him. "You're not the one carrying this." His gaze dropped briefly to the dog tag in my hand, then back to me. "No," he said, "but I am the one watching you let it decide your future." I felt something snap tight in my chest. "That's not what's happening." "It is." "It's not." "Then prove it." The words landed clean, sharp, unavoidable. I stared at him. Anger flared first, then something else underneath it. Something quieter, more dangerous. "What do you want me to do?" I asked. His answer came without hesitation. "Choose to live." I let out a breath, shaking my head. "Yeah," I muttered. "Simple." "It is not simple," he said. "But it is possible." There was a pause. Then, the alarms went off. Different tone this time. Louder. Urgent. Real. Multiple contacts detected, the station AI announced. Hostile fleet approaching. Estimated impact, 8 minutes. Everything inside me went still. Then sharp. Focused. Controlled. Just like before. Except this time. I hesitated. Just for a second. Kael saw it. Of course he did. And for the first time since I met him. He didn't just observe. He stepped forward. Right into it. "This is your choice," he said quietly. The words hit harder than the alarm. Harder than the memory. Harder than the fear. I looked at him. Really looked. At the missing hand. At the steady eyes. At the way he stood there like he wasn't going anywhere. Not this time. Not ever. The station shook slightly as distant impacts registered across the hall. Time was running out. I took a slow breath. Then grabbed my rifle. "Stay behind me," I said. Kael didn't move. "You are making the same decision." "No," I said, checking the weapon. "I'm making a different one." He watched me carefully. "How?" I met his gaze. "This time," I said, "you're not leaving." For a fraction of a second, something shifted in his expression. Not surprise. Not relief. Recognition. Then he nodded once. "Understood." And this time, when we moved together. Corridor 17 was already compromised when we got there. The outer hull had been breached. Jagged metal peeled back like something had clawed its way in from the vacuum. Emergency bulkheads had sealed sections off, but not fast enough. They were already inside. "Incoming," Morrison shouted over comms. Multiple hostiles pushing through the breach. I took position behind a support column, rifle up, breath steady. "Hold the line," I said. "We keep them contained here." Kael moved without hesitation, taking position at my right, slightly behind, covering my blind angle. Not copying me, complimenting me, like he already knew where I'd be weakest. The first wave hit hard, fast, low to the ground, armored, multi-limbed shapes pouring through the breach with a sound that scraped against something instinctive in the back of my brain. I fired. Controlled bursts. Center mass. Adjust. Fire again. They kept coming. Plasma scorched the walls. Sparks and debris filled the corridor. Someone screamed over comms, cut off mid-sentence. "Fall back to Junction 12. Morrison ordered. "We're getting overrun." "Negative," I snapped. "If they break through here, they hit the evac route." "That's not your call." "It is now." Silence for half a second. Then, "Copy that." Kael didn't look at me, didn't question it. He just adjusted position slightly, shifting to cover the opening I couldn't hold alone. We fought like that, side by side, not speaking, not needing to. Every movement had purpose. Every shot counted. At some point, I stopped thinking about him as the alien with one hand. He was just there, where he needed to be, when he needed to be. The second wave broke harder than the first. One of them got through, fast, too fast, slamming into the barrier line and knocking Davies off his feet. I moved without thinking, closed the distance, fired point blank. The creature dropped, collapsing against the wall in a mess of armor and limbs. "Watch your spacing," I shouted. "On your left." Kael's voice cut in. I turned just in time to see another one coming low. Too close. Too fast. Kael stepped in. Not in front of me. Beside me. His shoulder hit mine. just enough to shift my balance out of the creature's path while he fired. One clean shot through a vulnerable joint. It dropped. We reset instantly. Back to position. Back to rhythm. 2 minutes. Someone yelled. Evac shuttles, almost clear. Good. We just had to hold. The explosion came from behind us. Not from the breach. From inside the station. The floor lurched. Hard. I lost my footing. Hit the ground. Everything rang. For a second, I couldn't hear anything but a high-pitched whine. Then, pain. Sharp. Everywhere. My side. My ribs. My leg. I tried to move. Nothing responded. Ava. Kael. His voice cut through the noise. I blinked, vision swimming. The corridor was chaos now. Smoke. Fire. Broken structure. The defensive line was gone. Shattered. Can you move? He asked. I tried. Nothing. Yeah, I lied. He didn't argue. Didn't call it out. He just acted. His hand grabbed my harness, hauling me up just enough to drag. Wait. I tried, grabbing his arm weakly. You need to go. No. The word was simple. Absolute. I'm slowing you down, I managed. Yes. That wasn't what I expected. I almost laughed. Then leave me. No. Same tone. Same certainty. He didn't slow. Didn't hesitate. He just started pulling me. Through the smoke. Through the debris. Through everything that was still trying to collapse around us. Behind us. The sound. That awful, scraping, clicking sound. They were still coming. How far? I forced out. 2 corridors, he said. His voice was tighter now. Strained. Not panicked. But close. Good. That meant he was pushing. Hard. I tried to help. Tried to move my legs. Nothing. Dead weight. Kael. I said quieter now. You should leave me. I should do many things, he replied, dragging me over a section of broken plating. I am not doing that. The corridor shifted again. Another impact. Closer. The lights flickered, then died. Emergency lighting kicked in, dim, red, barely enough to see. Kael didn't stop. Didn't even slow. His grip adjusted. His stance shifted. Using his body differently. Compensating. Adapting. Always adapting. I felt something press into my hand. Cold. Familiar. The dog tag. I hadn't even realized I dropped it. He must have taken it. Picked it up. Carried it. And now, he forced it back into my palm. Hold it, he said. My fingers closed around it instinctively. Why? I started. Because you will not let go, he said. Simple. Certain. Like it wasn't a question. Like it was already decided. The corridor ahead opened slightly. Maintenance access. A small shuttle bay. Half damaged. But intact. Almost there, he said. His voice was rough now. His movement slower. But still precise. Still controlled. We reached the bay just as something slammed into the door behind us. Hard. Once. Twice. The metal buckled. Kael dragged me inside. Hit the controls. The door sealed halfway, jammed. He didn't hesitate. Braced his body against it. One arm. One shoulder. Pushing. The muscles in his frame locked tight. Straining. For a second, I thought it wouldn't hold. Then, the seal engaged. The door slammed shut. Silence. Heavy. Final. Kael stepped back. Just for a second. Then moved again, lifting me into the shuttle, strapping me in with fast, practiced movements. You're bleeding, I said. His shoulder. His side. Dark fluid. His, not mine, seeping through damaged armor. Yes. You need to. No. He moved to the controls. One hand. Fast. Precise. Adapting. Always adapting. The engine sputtered once. Twice. Then caught. The shuttle lurched. Hard. As it tore free from the station. I slumped back into the seat, vision fading again. The last thing I saw was Kael. Still standing. Still moving. Still refusing to let go. And somewhere between one breath and the next, I realized something. I thought I saved him. But this was something else entirely. And then everything went dark. I woke up to silence. Not the kind that comes after battle, but the kind that feels earned. White ceiling. Clean air. The slow, steady rhythm of machines reminding me I was still alive. My hand moved first. Not to my side. Not to the pain. To my pocket. The dog tag. Still there. Still heavy. You are awake. I turned my head. Kael sat beside the bed. Still. Watching. Alive. You stayed, I said. Yes. Why? He didn't answer immediately. Just looked at me the same way he always had. Like he was seeing something I couldn't. Years ago, he said quietly, a human carried my severed hand across enemy ground. It could not be saved. I frowned slightly. Then why? Because he refused to leave it behind, Kael said. Because hope does not require logic. Silence settled between us. Then he leaned forward slightly. That is what I learned from your kind. My grip tightened around the dog tag. And that's why you carried me? I asked. Yes. Not hesitation. Not doubt. Just truth. Not because you believed I would survive, he added, but because I would not leave you. Something in my chest shifted. Finally, I exhaled slowly, looking down at the tag in my hand. I thought I saved you, I said. Kael shook his head once. No. I looked back at him, and for the first time, I understood. He didn't save me by pulling me out. He saved me by staying, by choosing me, by going through hell with me. Thank you for listening to this story to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Write in the comments what moment in this story impressed you the most. And also check out the other videos that just appeared on your screen. See you in the next video.